Financially, the number one fear in retirement is outliving your money. How do you prevent it? How will you know? How do you move into retirement and try to pursue your goals without worry? In this video, I will share with you how to take control of the planning process so you don't have those restless nights. Hi, I'm Mark Singer, and for up-to-date and timely information on retirement, retirement income, Social Security, hit the button below to subscribe to our channel and be notified to when we post new videos. I recently got a phone call from a woman who was about 6 months away from retirement. She had a real sense of urgency in her voice and wanted to meet immediately. The problem for her, as she stated, was that she really had no idea what retirement was, what retirement planning was all about, did not know really anything outside of her investments in her 401k about money management. And to make things even more complicated, she had a real trust issue with someone who she didn't know who would be managing her affairs. And we've heard that on occasion. And I wanted to deal with all of those areas for you step by step by step. So let's break this down into little pieces, right? What are the questions that need to be asked and then answered? And the first big one is, how much cash flow do I need? Then, where do I get it from? And then, how am I going to manage my money? What kind of risk am I going to take? Because I certainly, in these uncertain times, don't want to take more risk than I should. I also need to find out, can I pursue those items on my bucket list? Going to visit the grandkids, traveling, etc. And maybe most importantly for her was how to overcome that trust issue. So let's deal with those one at a time. So let's start with the big one, right? Will I outlive my money? And as I said to this woman on the phone when I was talking to her initially was, if you don't do the planning, then there's always this sense of mystery in the back of your head as to whether or not if you spend the money today, it'll have an impact on your ability to pursue your retirement of your dreams tomorrow. If I go on a trip, can I go for 2 weeks or should I go for 1 week instead because I'm afraid of spending the money now? You're constantly living in this, again, this mystery, this I really don't know whether or not I can, I should, am I on track? And all of those questions, all of that uncertainty, all of that unrest and worry can be set aside by simply moving forward and doing the planning. The planning by itself won't make sure that you run out of money. But what the planning will do for you is to understand based on your needs, your goals now and later, and how much you have in assets and what income is coming in, as to whether or not you're on track to pursue your goals and not run out of money. Or do we need to change or make some adjustments now or later to your lifestyle or your thinking or your goals so that you can put yourself on track so that you don't outlive your money? The second question that needs to be asked, and it's the most important one from a planning perspective, is cash. In retirement, cash is king. If you have the wherewithal, the assets, the income to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, then you should be able to pursue your retirement without worry. It gives us such a great sense of, on a day-to-day basis, that we feel like we're okay. But the question is, and many who go into retirement don't answer this question, how much cash flow do you actually need? So my recommendation to you and to this woman I was talking with as we entered into the planning process was first to do a cash flow worksheet to understand what line items you will be spending, because they will change from your working years to your retirement years. You'll no longer be making those contributions to your retirement. You may be spending less on clothes, or you may be spending less on gas because we're not going, anywhere. But you may be spending more on travel, or gifting. So try to get a sense of what cash flow you need on when I say current basis, the first day of retirement. And I would submit to you that probably 6 to 9 months into retirement, you reevaluate because those numbers can change. And again, the planning process is fluid. That's why I say to my clients that we talk usually twice a year, to just update the planning, the assumptions in the planning, what their goals and objectives are, and if anything has changed. So once you get your cash flow number, and let's call it $5,000 a month you need, then you need to make sure that you gross that up for taxes, because if you're going to spend $5,000, then you need to generate usually more than that to net out the $5,000 that you need. So the other tip I would give you is initially when you go into retirement, maybe increase what you think you need by maybe 10 to 15%, because we typically do miss stuff. And I'd rather you plan for a bigger number and have a margin for error than planning for a number that is not realistic and giving yourself a false sense of, gee, everything is going to be okay. There are a lot of pieces to this planning process. That's why we put together the Masterclass. And if you're interested, click the link below to get some answers to some of the most important questions as you transition into retirement. The next big question, and it's an interesting one as you go into retirement, you really hadn't thought about this during your working years. While you worked, you had a paycheck, right? Every week, every other week, once a month, whatever it was, a predictable frequency in terms of the amount of money that was coming into you. The money may have, depending upon the role you were in, the money month to month may vary. Could you be in a sales job and you're making commissions versus just being an employee and getting a salary, or a combination of both? But as you go into retirement, one of the big questions I get is, how do I generate the income and where does it come from? So again, if you haven't answered the very first question, of which is, how much cash flow do I need? And then following that up with what's coming in, then you really won't know which line items to go to get your income. Let's back up for a minute. Let's assume that $5,000 a month need that you had, if you gross it up for taxes, etc., let's say you need, let's round it out, you need $6,000 a month. And you're bringing in, this woman, she was single, she was divorced, she's bringing in $3,000 a month for Social Security, and that was going to be it. So she had $6,000 need, a $3,000 inflow of money every single month. So she needed $3,000 a month. So that's the first step to understanding, what do I need? Then you go to the portfolio to understand where it should come from. And that answer begs the question in terms of, how old are you? And when I say that, the required minimum distribution indicates that you must start taking out approximately 3.5% of your money in your retirement accounts at the age of 72. So if you're before the age of 72, and if you have assets in non-retirement accounts, we call those personal or taxable assets, you may be better off taking the $3,000 a month now, if you're less than 72, from those accounts, because the tax exposure is typically far less taking it out of the personal or taxable accounts than it would be taking it out of the retirement accounts. If you have reached the age of 72, then you need to make a determination of what's the required minimum distribution. Again, it's about 3.5%. If that satisfies your need, then you don't need to take any more out of the personal. But if it doesn't satisfy your need, then I would take out the required minimum distribution and then take the balance from the personal or the taxable account, again, lowering the tax exposure at that point in time, because obviously that also is one of our goals. The next question really is regarding now the money management. So the big question is, hey, listen, I've had it in the 401k all the time. I really didn't do anything except put money in. I really didn't pay attention. It stayed in for a long period of time and it grew, right? And over the past 10, 11 years, it's grown very nicely if you've had it invested. So how do I invest now as I go into retirement? Do I retire the management of the money? Or do I need to proactively manage it in such a way to generate the income that I need? And the answer again lies in the answer to the first question, which was how much cash flow do I need and how much do I need to generate from the portfolio? Once you understand how much you need to generate from the portfolio, then you understand how much risk to take. So let's go back to this. We had a $6,000 need. We had $3,000 coming in from the Social Security. We need $3,000 more. Let's say hypothetically you have $1 million portfolio, and let's forget the taxes and all that kind of stuff. Let's just think in big picture terms at the moment. Then you need to generate, in essence, about a little under 3% in terms of income from the portfolio to generate the $3,000 a month. So let's call it 2.5 to 2.8% to generate the $36,000 that you need now. Then you also need to account for some inflation looking forward. So you need to have a portfolio that probably in this scenario is geared towards about a 5 to 6% total return over a long period of time. So this person could take a very moderate level of risk in order to generate the income and the total return she needs to sustain her lifestyle into retirement. But before you can even understand how much risk to take, am I taking on too much? Am I taking on too little? You really need to answer that first question, which is the cash flow. So I'm going to address the trust issue in just a moment, because I think that's a big one for many people who are now faced with retirement and looking for some guidance. But before I do that, there's another question that needs to be answered, and it's really an action item, right? Do you have a bucket list? I think we all do, right? I mean, there are things we want to do. Have we formalized it? Have we visualized it? I would suggest if you can, you should, and have conversations with your spouse if you have one to talk about what, the priorities are. Again, for this woman that I was talking with, she wanted to go see the grandkids. Some were near her, some were not. She wanted to do a little travel when we could go travel again, when, this pandemic has subsided. But her real question is, as she's facing retirement, she's asking the right question in advance, right? 6 months in advance. And the real question is, if I go to visit the kids and the grandkids, if I go travel on the things that items that are out on my bucket list, what impact will it have on my ability to pursue my life? Will I be able to do the things I wish to do without worry? And for me, the answer to that is all about planning. And I will say to you, in our industry has tended to talk about, and you think about, money management first and foremost. But as you move through into the next chapter of life and transitioning into retirement, I really do believe that the planning must come first, setting your goals, understanding what your objectives are, understanding your cash flow issues before you get to take a look at the asset allocation and the portfolio construction and the money management. The whole conversation of money management tends to not be as important because the planning becomes more important. So the planning will answer the question with regards to, should I worry? The final question, which is the whole issue of trust, right? So there are some people out there who just inherently don't trust people, and there are others who when it comes to money, don't want them handling or understanding what they do or what they have. So my recommendation is, and this is where this woman came, she came from a highly respected source in the community. It happened to have been her estate planning attorney, who we do some work with and have for years. And so when he said to her that she should call me, it came from years of understanding who we were and what we did and how we worked with people. But I will tell you this, when she first, and she raised the issue of trust. She said that her dad apparently had had some issue with a planner years ago, and she is saddled with that emotionally. I said, listen, I understand the whole trust issue, but I can't hit a button for you to trust me. It doesn't work that way. And I think that one of the benefits of doing planning first and then doing the money management is, if you do the planning and it takes a month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, to have numbers of conversations, you'll get a sense of the type of person, character, approach, communications that your planner has during that time, even before you seed the money over to that planner. And I will tell you, from our perspective, we can never touch the money, okay? It's just not possible physically for us to get into that account and touch it. So there are safeguards for our clients to understand that their money is safe, and we can't go in like some of those headlines that you've seen. Nobody writes a check out to me or my firm, therefore I can't touch it. But even saying all that, sometimes it doesn't help the person who has the trust issue. So I recommend, when it comes to trust, number one, get from a highly respected person that you know, a very good referral, and then start with the planning process, have numbers of conversations with that individual so that you can start to develop some of that trust. And then you can feel more comfortable in terms of having that individual helping you with the money management issues. So, number one fear in retirement is outliving the money, but you can overcome those sleepless nights and that worry if you go through the process properly. And also, if you take a look at the next video, this will also help you out.